Welcome everyone to Star Flag Media once again. My name is Anthony. I'll be your gracious host for the week. We had some big news this week, and once again, you're gonna catch me here without our co-host, UWA Talents 860, Christopher, Heath. Hashtag stop doxing me. Yeah, he's not here. Last week he was off for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and this week he's off on a expedition vacation, ending up his vacation across adventures in South America and who knows where else life has taken him. Hopefully he will be here next week to join us, and we of course are excited to have him back as soon as possible because a lot of news has been going on, and I like having Chris here to have his point of view and his take on things. So we're gonna start off this week's episode with talking about Sony. Sony is refunding players that were confused by The Last of Us 2 remastered for the PlayStation 5, the upgrade path. Now, we talked about this recently here on the podcast, how Sony and my idea of Nintendo probably going this route in the future of re-releasing games that were originally on Switch for the Switch 2, possibly with an upgraded patch that you pay an extra $10 for, and you get a fresh new skin, which is basically what Sony was doing with The Last of Us 2 remastered for the PlayStation 5. If you already owned The Last of Us 2 on PlayStation 4, all you needed to do was to pay an extra $10, and you can download the upgraded remastered edition for the PS5. Apparently, this created some confusion amongst gamers out there and amongst PlayStation users, and a lot of people went out and they went into the Sony PlayStation Store and they bought the game all over again at full price. So, the game came out on the 19th, January the 19th, and, good on Sony's part. They saw this happening and they decided to preemptively strike and hopefully avoid any issues and headaches from the internet with users complaining about, not getting their money. So they're issuing refunds automatically to people who bought the full version of the game. And this will allow them to then either, if they've already owned the copy of Last of Us 2 on their profile, then they're going to get their money back, which is really nice on Sony's part. I think it's a smart move on their end. They don't really lose much on this game, and if people really want to go ahead and buy the upgraded remaster for the extra $10, this is a good way of them showing some goodwill to gamers in a situation that really they could have washed their hands over and said, hey, thanks for the money, and just kept it pushing, right? But it looks like Sony is doing the right thing on this one and indeed refunding people's money. Going on to our next subject here that I wanted to talk about. So we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now on the channel, and we're talking about the Mig Switch flash cart. Some people have already gotten their hands review copies of the Mig Switch and the Mig Switch dumper. So basically, although it's already technically possible to hack your Switch, basically any Switch model with fairly simple techniques if you go out there and you look for it, Nintendo frowns heavily upon this, and you could probably know that you can preload almost any Switch game right onto it if you have a hacked Switch. Well, the Mig Switch is a flash cart with an SD card slot that promises you don't have to mod your Switch, and it's made specifically to back up the copies of your current Nintendo Switch games, and it comes with a caveat, right? So something that they're probably trying to slow down the Nintendo attorneys is that you need to have your own copy of the game with its own certificate. So basically when you put your copy of your game into your Switch, it reads it as an individual copy that has been tied to your console and your account. And also, Nintendo then knows that, this is an individual copy and it's not pirated. So you're less likely to have your Switch, completely turned off or bricked by Nintendo, right? So to avoid that, they're they're selling this thing called the dumper separately from the Mig Switch cart, which allows you to take any cartridges that you already own, dump those into your SD card file slot, and then put it onto your flash cart, and then carry everything on one cart. Which it's nice. However, it's only a matter of time before people can find a way around this, and then find a way to just pre-dump everything on there with specific files, and of course, run the risk of Nintendo coming down on you and bricking your system. So it's always a risk out there when you're doing anything that is considered piracy. Me personally, I don't pirate games. This is one way of backing up your games that you already own, but video game companies don't even believe that you are technically allowed to do that. So, beware, buyers buy at your own risk. On the Mig Switch website, you can get both the dumper and the Mig Switch cart for about $124.99. You can get them separately too. If you just want the cart, that's around $60, and if you just want the dumper, it's around $64.99. And then they offer giant bundles for, I'm guessing, resellers of this unit. You can get like a 20-pack for like $1,000 or something like that. Some crazy number like that. But yeah, so you can pre-order these now. You can go on to the migswitch.store, and good luck with doing what you're legally supposed to do in these situations, folks. That's all that I can say regarding that. Moving on, we want to go and visit a 14-year game streak that was just broken. So for the first time since 2008, something other than Call of Duty or Rockstar Games was the best-selling game of the year. So this is a pretty big deal because, again, 2008 is a long time ago for those of you that remember. I'm not quite old enough to remember that, but, Chris tells me about those days. So according to newly released data from Circana, which, as we all know, was formerly the NPD Group, Hogwarts Legacy from Warner Brother Games is the best-selling game of 2023. And it's the first time since 2008 that it wasn't a Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, or another Rockstar game. So Hogwarts Legacy, I called this, we all knew it was going to be a huge hit, even though it wasn't exactly a critical success that one would say. It was, an average game when it came to critics and scores. But then came the I think 6 or 7 months in between when it released on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Series S and X, and PS5, and then the Switch version got delayed. And I said this in a previous podcast. I always felt like Nintendo has the opportunity in this case to have the largest audience for the Harry Potter world. So Hogwarts Legacy, I always felt, even though it was going to get a less ultra high definition version, I felt like the Switch version was going to sell very well. And of course, as soon as it came out, it did. It pushed Hogwarts Legacy back into the charts when it was previously, teetering, and gave it that push over the edge. So this comes over from Kotaku.com. On January 18th, Matt Piscapella, video game industry analyst and executive director of Circana, formerly the NPD Group, tweeted some interesting stats about the video game hardware and software sales across the whole year of 2023. Included in these new stats was the confirmation that, yes, Hogwarts Legacy was 2023's best-selling video game in the United States. According to the newly released data, Hogwarts Legacy was the best-selling game of the year on PS5 and PS4, over on Xbox Series X, S, and Xbox One, and it was the second best-selling game over on the Xbox side, and it was the number 5 best-selling game of the year on Switch. Now, remember, this came out in the latter half of the year, towards the end of the year on Switch, and it was still managed to get the number 5 spot. So it's a huge, huge hit. So for the entire breakdown of the list for the top selling games of the year, we have at number 12, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which was a Switch exclusive. At number 11, the 11th best-selling game of the year was Starfield. Number 10 was EA Sports Football Club 24. It's a big deal. They lost the FIFA license, and it's still the 10th best-selling game of the year. Number 9 was Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Number 8, another game that's on everything across the board, on PC all the way down to Switch, is Mortal Kombat 1. At number 7, we have Modern Warfare 2. At number 6, we have Diablo 4. Number 5, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. At number 4, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which was a PS5 exclusive. And then we have at number 3, Madden NFL 24. At number 2 was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. And of course, at number 1, Hogwarts Legacy. Man, big surprise there. You know, I mean, it's not as big a surprise as you would think, but to hear that it's been since 2008 that this is the first time we're getting a new game that's not a, you know, GTA or Rockstar game or a, you know, a Call of Duty as the top selling game of the year it's a nice welcome, you know, a breath of fresh air. Gamers do seem to like open world, so I guess if it's not Call of Duty, an open world game is probably going to have the best chance of becoming the game of the year. So the next thing that I wanted to touch upon was when we're talking about, you know, games coming up for 2024 is the Xbox Developers Direct for 2024. This is the second year that Xbox has their Direct, and shout out to Nintendo for making that an industry-wide thing. Just the directs, and now that's just a thing that we're looking forward to or getting used to. So Microsoft started the year with its 2024 Xbox Developers Direct, and show featured release of a number of games. So we're gonna start talking about a couple of these. The biggest game announced on there was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It's officially revealed. It's made by Bethesda. It looks really good. It's set in between the timeline of The Last Crusade and Temple of Doom, so it's in between 2 and 3. It stars a young Harrison Ford. The face is there. You know, we've got a voice actor doing his best. The guy from The Last of Us is doing his best Harrison Ford impression, which is fine, because, you know, doesn't have to sound exactly like him, just has to look the part. It is a first-person adventure for the most part. It looks like some of the platforming and action scenes, as well as the cutscenes, will shift back into third-person mode. Everything about this game looked really, really good. I'm excited for Indiana Jones. The next game that we want to talk about here is an Obsidian game. It's Avowed. Avowed I'm excited for because I loved Fallout New Vegas. I loved The Outer Worlds. Two of my favorite games, both made by Obsidian. So seeing a new version of something that they were working on coming out is really exciting. You know, Avowed is scheduled to make its appearance coming the fall of 2024. So, you know, they showed off battles with weapons like one-handed wands and dual-wielding pistols and swords, and, you know, everything's on the fly. It's a little bit different from what you're used to. It's not really turn-based-y, kind of real-timey stuff that you were used to on Outer Worlds. This is a lot more just in real time. So you're going to really get into the action on this game. It looks amazing. Square Enix showed their face with a multi-platform game. So Visions of Mana was shown off. And for lack of a better description, it looks like a UHD version of like Breath of the Wild mixed with Square Enix characters. And, you know, it's very much a Japanese game. It's very nice that they actually showed this game off on an Xbox Direct, because we've really don't associate Xbox with these Japanese developers too much, especially in the last 3 console generations. So Square Enix showing up and kind of showing them a little bit of love is nice. This game is going to come out also on PC and PlayStation when it launches this summer. The last game, second to last game that they showed off, or that I'm going to talk about, is it's called Aura History Untold. And if Chris was here, this was something that he'd probably be interested in, because it's like Civilization. In fact, it's made by a team that is ex-developers of Firaxis that made the Civilization series. So we're looking at, you know, real-time strategy, Empires type game where you're real time competing against other players, and this is something that I it looks amazing, looks really good, and it is coming to PC and PC Game Pass this fall. And then finally, they also showed off Hellblade 2: Senua's Saga. It looks top-notch graphics. The last game that came out last generation on PlayStation 4 and on Xbox One, I believe, and on Switch, was a graphical powerhouse. This game looks really good back then. It still holds up in a lot of cases. So Part 2 was one of those games that they showed off nearly 3 or 4 years ago already, kind of, and it's finally getting a release of May 21st, 2024. It is a Series X game, and it looks really sharp, but here's what is really interesting to me about Hellblade 2. It's going the route of Alan Wake 2. There is no physical copies of this game that's going to be made. It is a digital only game. You can only download it, and it will be available day one on Game Pass as well. So you don't have to buy it. If you did want to buy it, because it is a digital only game, it's only going to cost $50. I think this is what digital should have been all along. If you're not shipping a physical cartridge and a plastic case across the country or the world with a manual, and you don't have to print anything out, and you should be able to knock some money off of the price. It shouldn't cost the same as a retail copy for a digital code, pretty much. So for $50, this is probably this is a really good strategy. And if Microsoft continues this route, it's going to be interesting, especially with all the rumors circulating about Microsoft slowly but surely moving into that third-party gray area where they're going to be publishing a lot of their first-party stuff onto Nintendo and PlayStation platforms going forward. Speaking of digital only, and this is going to be our last topic for today. Well, kind of our last topic. We'll talk a little bit about a mobile platform game in a second. But Ubisoft had some controversial words over the weekend. So Ubisoft executive says gamers need to get comfortable not owning their games for subscriptions to take off. And I'm going to read this from IGN.com. It says an executive at Assassin's Creed maker Ubisoft has said gamers will need to get comfortable not owning their games before video game subscriptions can truly take off. Speaking to discuss the launch of Ubisoft's new Ubisoft Plus and Premium Ubisoft Plus Classic subscriptions, Philippe Tremblay, director of subscriptions at Ubisoft, explains to GI.biz, boo, we talked about them, what needs to happen before subscription services become more of a significant slice of the video game business. He goes on to say, I don't have a crystal ball, but when you look at the different subscription services that are out there, we've had a rapid expansion over the last couple of years. But it's relative to small companies, or excuse me, it's relatively small compared to the other models. So we're seeing expansion on consoles as the likes of PlayStation and Xbox bring new people in. On PC, from a Ubisoft standpoint, it's already been great, but we're looking to reach out on more than just PC. So we do see opportunity there. One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having and owning their game. That consumer shift that needs to happen. They need to get comfortable not owning their CD collection, not owning their DVD collection. That transformation has been slower to happen in games. As gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there, that it's not been deleted. You don't lose what you've built in the game or your engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. I still have 2 boxes of DVDs. I definitely understand the gamer's perspective with that. But as people embrace that model, they will see that these games will still exist, the services will continue, and you'll be able to access them when you feel like that's reassuring. I'm going to stop right there. We have seen that this is not true. I used to own a wall of DVD and Blu-rays. This is, dating myself a bit. So back when, that was a thing where you used to go to the store every Tuesday to purchase the brand new movie of the week. And as Netflix took off and Hulu took off, and all these other streaming services started, showing their faces, I got rid of my DVD collection and my Blu-ray collection. I sold them off. And slowly but surely, I started realizing that a lot of these movies that I had not only are not available on these streaming websites, they're incredibly difficult now to find on physical media. So if you want to watch these films, you have to go another route. Some, would say you would pirate the movie, or find a way to view it some other illicit way, or hunt down a copy of an old DVD on eBay and hope that you're not getting price gouged for it. So no, I disagree with that point. As far as him saying the game will always be there, your save file will always be there. That's not always the case, and we saw that with Sony recently when they tried to take away people who bought Discovery shows on the PlayStation Network. They were just going to take those shows away, even if you purchased them, which they've reversed their stance on. But it goes to show you that they can and will do that when the time comes. So, mark my words, the time will come. So I'm going to wrap this show up talking about Call of Duty on the mobile devices. So last year they announced Call of Duty Warzone Mobile, and it was delayed. Actually, they announced it in 2022, and it was supposed to come out in 23, and it was delayed. It looks like it's got a release date later on this year, and it's going to be integrated with the PlayStation 5, the Xbox version, and the future Nintendo versions that come out. So if you buy a Game Pass, a Battle Pass on the consoles, you'll be able to then just download the mobile version of the game, take it with you wherever you go, and continue your progress on the go. Everything that you do in the mobile version will translate over to the console version. I have been playing quite a bit of Call of Duty Mobile, the one that is currently available, over the last month and a half or so. And a shout out to my clanmate, Kitty White 96, I believe. Got me into playing the game, and it's really pretty fun, actually. It's something considered just a cell phone game, is actually a little bit more in depth than you would think. Now, of course, it's not going to be what the PC can do, and it's not even comparable to what consoles can do, but it is a Call of Duty game, for better or for worse. So it's interesting to see that this game is being planned and looks to be trying to integrate and make it more of a cohesive thing across all platforms. And it is a good way for Activision, Blizzard, and Microsoft, not that they own them, to grow the Call of Duty franchise. And this is probably one of the biggest played games for the Call of Duty games, is actually on mobile devices across the world, especially in countries where not everyone can have a PlayStation, but they do own a mobile device. With that said, I wanted to thank everyone for joining me this week here at Star Flag Media, the Not So Drunken Idiot this week. So, leave a comment, subscribe, share this with people. Put it on your Facebook, put it on your Twitter. It really would help. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers. Hopefully by the end of the year. We're at like 32 for a fairly new channel. We would appreciate any help. And as always, we would just want to thank everyone for joining us. And hopefully you guys will have a great week ahead. And if any breaking news happens, you'll find me here. And hopefully on Friday, we will have our good friend Talents back in the house so that we can record our show for the weekend. As always, Anthony signing off here at Star Flag Media. Thanks for joining us.